Welcome to a base hospitality group training video. If you're a base associate, welcome. Thank you for being part of our team. If you're just checking out base hospitality group as a potential employee, I hope you enjoy the video. If you are just here browsing and looking for material for your own team, you're welcome to use this, and hopefully it benefits you no matter who you are watching. Again, thank you. Today's video is going to be about our company, Base Hospitality Group, and all of our affiliate companies, corporate ethos, as we call it. Some organizations call it culture, we call it ethos. And as you get to know us, you'll find there's an important differentiation in that terminology. And today, as we talk about ethos, we're going to be talking about it in the context of leadership. Today's video is primarily about leadership and their role in helping to build and embody our company's ethos. So again, thanks for joining me. Here we go. So leaders' primary role in our organization is to uphold, enforce, protect, and preserve the company's ethos. Our ethos is rather simple. It's that we believe everyone we encounter, be that our associates, our peers, our superiors, our direct reports, our contracts, our clients, our guests, whatever it is, we believe that those people should be treated with the same honor, respect, appreciation, and interest with which we hope people would treat us. It's pretty simple. When we imagine what's the best way I could be treated by someone else, you think about a friend and you consider, I'd love to have a friend that treats me like this. Or I'd love to have a boss that treats me like this. Or I'd love to have an employee that treats me like this. Whatever that is, that's the way that we want you to treat those around you. Guests, clients, associates, bosses, and those that report to you, treat them the way that you'd want to be treated if you were in their shoes. We also believe that leadership, your role is primarily to govern over a certain body of influence and to serve that body of influence. So you have responsibilities that look like governing and overseeing, and you also have responsibilities that look like servitude and empowerment. And we'll get into those in a little bit. Primarily as it relates to governance, we believe that your role is to preserve and protect the company ethos and to help develop that ethos in those that work for you. As it relates to serving is the way that you use your platform, your power, your influence as it relates to our organization to help those who work for you to embody our company ethos and become something greater than they thought they could be themselves. It's your job as a leader to see the potential and the greatness in those who work for you and to help them achieve that greatness that they might not even believe is there. So today's video is going to be primarily about a set of tools that we as leaders possess simply because we're human, and they're easy to use, they're accessible to all of us, as long as we're willing to embrace them and choose to use them in the way that we interact with those around us. We're going to talk about time management tools, communication tools, and directional tools. So first, time management tools. These are simple. There's something that each of these tools is something each of us can do. We might need to change some things about ourselves to do it, but we can each do these and embody these as our normal. Now, before I dive into the tools, I'm going to tell you guys that our leaders out there in our organization or even in other organizations, that as you listen to these things and you realize, yeah, those are really valuable. They are really useful tools. I do need to do those. You might need to change the way you do what you do to become a better leader. If you're in our organization, You will need to change the way you do what you do to embody these values, to embody this ethos, and to make use of these tools. So these tools that we give you, those of you who are Base Hospitality Group associates, we are giving you these tools and saying, use these. We are going to help you develop the normalcy of using these. And if you need help, you know that you can always ask, and we're here to help you. Time management tools. We'll start there. And again, I'm trying to keep these videos rather compact, so typically I would take a little bit more time and be a little bit more deliberate with some of these points, but we're going to be just trying to get through some of this training material, get it in your hands so that you guys can start implementing it, putting it into practice in each of your properties. So time management tools, the three that I want to talk about today are punctuality, consistency, and dependability. Punctuality, let's start there. This is something that everyone can do, and few will make the effort to actually do it. Be punctual, be on time, be early. You've heard the saying that if you're on time, you're late. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. That's true. We believe that punctuality is a way in which we honor those with whom we're meeting. It's very disrespectful to another party to consistently show up to meetings late. You're telling them, your time doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care if you have to sit around waiting for me. I'm going to show up when I feel good and ready. And that's disrespectful. It's dishonoring. And before a meeting even begins, you already now have to overcome a hurdle that says to someone else, I'm not really that interested in you. I'm just interested in me. So be on time. It's simple, it's easy, and it's powerful. When you show up on time, you're telling someone else, I think your time matters. That's important. If you show up to a meeting with me and you come early and you're there and ready for me and you're prepared for the meeting, that tells me that you were interested in me because my time is valuable and I don't have a lot of it. There's a lot of things going on for most of us. So respecting someone by respecting their time is a powerful, powerful way for you to start any engagement with another person. Second, consistency. This is one of the most underrated traits and tools that's out there. Just be consistent. Be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing, day in and day out. And if you do that, you are proving yourself trustworthy. You're being proven trustworthy to those who have trusted you with responsibility, and you're proving yourself trustworthy to those who report to you and depend on you for their living. Be consistent. Be consistent in the way that you interact with people. Be consistent in the way that you respect people and care for people. Be consistent. We can all think back of different times in our lives where we were consistent and someone got used to seeing us somewhere over and over and over, and how relationships are naturally forged simply through consistency. You can think in your own life, even relationships that weren't altogether beneficial, they still forged just by being consistent. Be consistent. Be there day in and day out when you're supposed to be. And it's amazing the impact that will have on those that you're leading. Lastly, for time management tools, we're going to talk about dependability. Dependability is very simple. It's delivering what you said you would do because you said you would do it. Dependable. Be dependable. If you've been entrusted with some measure of authority and responsibility, the best thing you can do is just do it. Maybe you don't need a lot of fanfare. You just do it. You just deliver. That is incredibly valuable. A great example of this that we all know about is package shipping. Right now, because of the environment that we're in, you can't depend on package shipping services the way that you once could. And it's amazing the impact that has on people. We just passed Christmas here in the United States, and I guess everywhere in the world. And we just passed Christmas, and in the United States, shipping has been majorly hampered by the coronavirus and everything else that's happened in 2020. And so we were told December 12th or something is the last day that you can make an order and plan to have it there for Christmas. Almost 2 weeks prior, you've got to get your stuff ordered, your Christmas gifts ordered, or it's not going to be there for Christmas. Well, as a guy who has done most of my Christmas shopping throughout my entire life, within 2 days of Christmas, that really hampered my plans because the companies, the organizations that I had come to depend on were suddenly no longer dependable. Be dependable in and out of good seasons and bad, slow times of year and busy. Be dependable, be reliable, and people will trust you immensely. Be dependable. Next, we're going to move on to communication tools, and these are very important for us. We exist mostly in the hospitality industry as an organization, but our company is called Base Hospitality Group because hospitality, that means treating strangers as though they're friends. Anyone as though they're friends. Hospitality for us is our foundation, our base, and that's where the name of our company came from. So communication in hospitality or in caring for others is incredibly important. And so over the next few months, we're going to roll out a lot of material for you guys about communication and how to communicate and engage well. And we'll break it down for each area, each department, each responsibility, and make sure we get that in your hands so that you can get it out to your teams. So today we're going to start with the basics of communication. Respect, honor, attitude, and voice. Respectfulness is simple. It just means that we consider others to be as or more important than we are. Sometimes you'll hear me say that it's more important to be interested in someone than to be interesting to someone. Be respectful of other people in the way that you find interest in them and in their lives. Respect is kind of a foundation. Honor, respect, it's a foundation for communication. If we go into communication assuming the worst about someone, assuming the worst about the way that we think, we're not going to communicate very effectively. In fact, we are probably going to communicate very destructively because we've assumed things about them that aren't true. And we'll spend half the conversation arguing about assumptions when we could have gone in and instead of telling them all the things they did wrong, maybe just start by asking some questions about what they think and where they're coming from. So respect is the foundation from which communication leaps. A great way to show respect to someone is by approaching the conversation and in your own mind understanding that there's as much a chance that you could be wrong as there is that they are in the wrong. Be humble, and humility breeds respect. It breeds honor of other people. And that's very, very important as we communicate with others. Humility and respect in communication also leads to clearer communication and more gentle communication. We're less likely to be harsh and brash if we come into the conversation with respectfulness and humility. And as leaders, that's very, very important. If we become leaders who are known for speaking disrespectfully or harshly to those who work for us, we're going to create a very toxic environment very quickly. And that's kind of the opposite of who we are as an organization. It is paramount that those who work, especially in some of the harder positions, the tougher positions in our organization, those that are less glorious, that those folks are treated with the highest degree of respect and honor and appreciation for what they do. Because they're probably not hearing it from too many others if they're not hearing it from us. So as leaders, it's our responsibility to treat them with immense respect honor, appreciation, and make sure that they know it. Now, that leads us into attitude. Attitude is how our minds and bodies communicate a message. They say that 90% of communication is nonverbal. That means that for a lot of you listening, you've heard 10% of what I've said, and 90% of what you've taken in has just been watching me flail my arms, move around, and try to keep eye contact with the camera lens. Attitude is the way that we think that leads to the way that we act. And it's really, really important for us as leaders that we develop an attitude of cheerfulness, of hopefulness, of optimism grounded in reality. And that we communicate that to those around us, peers, guests, clients, and associates. One of the worst things you can have as a leader is an attitude of kind of like Eeyore. Have you ever worked for someone who is a little bit of an Eeyore? They just, everything's always bad. How was your day? How are you? You might come into the conversation, and I'm going to get a little bit animated here because I feel strongly about this, but you come into a conversation, hey, how are you? Great to see you. How are things? They're all right, I guess. It just sucks the air out of the conversation, doesn't it? It just drains all the energy out of the moment. And if that person is a boss or a supervisor or a leader, it's toxic. Because what happens is you have team members, associates that come in and they're fired up. They had a great weekend and they're ready to get to work. And, hey, how are you? What's going on? And let's just say the manager's name is Martha. Hey, Martha, how are you? Sure was busy here this weekend, but you wouldn't know that. You weren't here. Well, now that employee, they're trying to go about their day and all they can think about is, boy, I hope Martha's not mad at me because I didn't work this weekend. And if you contrast that with Mary, Martha's sister, who's always cheerful, she's always excited, she's filled with hope and excitement and exuberance. And an associate comes in and, hey, how are you, Mary? How was your weekend? Great! It was great. The hotel was hopping. People were here and there and loved their stay and things were good. And does that mean everything was perfect for Mary? No, probably not. Because we function in an imperfect world. But Mary chose to look at life and her job through a lens filled with hope and excitement and optimism and gratitude. And Martha chose to look at life through a lens of entitlement and self-pity and sadness and sorrow and the like. So for us as leaders in this organization, we won't tolerate Marthas in our organization. We require all of our leaders to be and embody the attitude that the Mary that I just described, that she possesses. That's our ethos. That's the way that we function, because when I think about my employment background, which is extensive, and I think about all the different people that I've worked for, the ones that stand out the most to me as great leaders that I loved to work for, that I wanted to do well for, those were the ones that they were filled with, we can do it, we're going to do it, there's nothing that can stop us. And they didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about all the ways that things were going to fall apart and how the world was ending and the like. So leaders, cheerfulness, exuberance, excitement, interested in others, and make sure they can see it when they talk to you in the way that you communicate. After all, we are in the entertainment business in hospitality. We are entertaining. That means we ought to have a little bit of flair, a little bit of pizzazz, not drama, a little bit of flair, a little bit of pizzazz in what we do so that people can see that it actually matters to us. If what we do doesn't mean anything to us, it doesn't matter to us, there's no way we can be genuine, we can be authentic and truly excited about what we're doing. And if we're in the wrong business, we should probably find somewhere else to go. Lastly, as a communication tool, I want to talk about voice. And this is really important because probably half of what we do happens where you can't see the other person. It happens on the phone. That might be an associate that calls in and they're, hey, I'm having a hard time getting to work on time. Okay. These conversations are happening on the phone. And now more than ever, text messaging and emailing has also become a huge communication method, and you can't see the other person. So for anything spoken, we're going to talk about inflection and intonation in the voice. We'll get into a whole other training on texting and emailing and how that communication should work. But for today, we're going to talk about intonation and inflection in the voice. And what I really want to communicate to you is that it's important that your voice goes up and down and reflects what your message is as you're communicating with someone. You can say all the right words, but if there's no inflection, there's no changing of your voice as you speak, what you say could go out the window because of how you say it. I'll give you an example. We'll call one of our hotels, we'll use the Hotel Mead, one of our properties in Wisconsin, and we'll say, I'm answering the phone at the desk for the Hotel Mead. Thank you for calling the Hotel Mead. This is Charlie. It's my great pleasure to serve you today. Now, if you're on the other end of that call, do you feel as though it is my great pleasure to serve you today? It is my great pleasure to serve you today. Probably not. You probably feel like, okay, I just woke this guy up. He doesn't want to talk to me. And what I said means nothing because of how I said it. Conversely, I could say something almost stupid, and if my voice reflects a great message, you're probably going to be excited to talk to me. Hi, Charlie here. How can I help you? And on the other end of the line, you're like, wow, this guy's excited. I don't know where I just called, but he's excited to talk to me. That's better than the perfect verbiage, but said incorrectly. Okay? So when you communicate, when you talk on the phone or you communicate in person, it is paramount that your voice reflects the message. If you're talking to a guest and you're trying to say, I'm excited about this, or you got to go try this restaurant, it's right down the road, it's amazing. Let some excitement come out in the way your voice sounds. If all you say is in a monotone, you're not truly communicating any kind of excitement or zeal about your message. Hey, you should try this restaurant. It's delicious. We have a great menu down in the bar. It is super yummy. Right? I'm being dramatic here, but that's what I hear often in our communication, especially on the phone, because it becomes rote. It becomes rote, right? It's just routine. We answer the phone, we say the same thing a million times, not recognizing that this is a unique experience for the person on the other end of the line. They only call our hotel maybe once a year, twice a year, 10 times a year. But it's a unique experience when they call. They're not fielding 400 calls in a week like you guys do. So instead of answering the phone, thank you for calling, answer with some excitement. Hey, thanks for calling. This is Can I help you today? Answer, speak, communicate with some voice inflection and intonation that sends the message that you are actually excited to be doing what you're doing. Very, very important, and something that you're going to hear from me a lot on as I'm visiting your properties. And we're going to want you as leaders affirming this message. As we talk to our guests and our associates and each other, there should be some up and down in the way that we talk. Quiet things get quiet. Big things get big, loud. And excited things, our voice should go up and down. And we should be excited about what we're doing or we're in the wrong business. If we can't get excited about taking care of people, we're in the wrong business. We are truly here to host and care for people. And we're in the hospitality industry because that's really important to us. And we expect it to be important to all of you. Lastly, the last leadership set of tools we're going to talk about are directional tools. Clarity in communication. And clearly communicating objectives. That's kind of a subpoint. And lastly, accountability. So clarity and then this objection thing. So clarity is really important, that you say what you mean and mean what you say. And I know that sounds stupid, but often we don't realize what we're saying because we think we're saying something else. What we think we're saying in our head is not exactly what comes out of our mouth. And more important, the message our audience hears is not the same message that we think we put together up here. That'll happen in this video. I'll say some things in this video, and you as listeners, you're going to go, what did he just say? Did he just really say that? And if you come ask me, I might say, well, no, that's probably not what I had up here, but what you heard over there is, you got a little muddled in translation. The challenge for us as leaders is to figure out not just what I think I'm saying, but to process it to the point where we're saying it in a way that our hearers, our listeners, cannot confuse our message. So, how does that play out in our world? Let's say that I have a housekeeper and they're struggling with their bathrooms. Okay? And as a leader, I've got to go in and I've got to communicate to them that their bathrooms are not what they could be and show them how they can raise the level. Okay? I can go in and I can say, hey, you're struggling a little bit with the bathroom. That could mean a lot of things. That could mean I'm having a hard time just getting in the bathroom. That could mean that as a hearer, I'm struggling a little bit in the bathroom. Am I constipated? What's going on? I don't know what that message was. There's a lot of different ways that I could hear that, many of which are wrong. So as a leader, I've got to communicate exactly what I want that listener to understand. That means telling them, hey, listen, you're doing a great job with the beds. Your mirrors are spotless. Windows are clean. I love it. Can I show you an area of improvement in the bathroom? It's specifically the toilets. When I inspect your room after you're finished cleaning and I look around behind the toilet, I'll often find scraps of toilet paper or hairs. We need you to get back in there, make sure that area is cleaned out completely so that that part of the room looks like the rest of your rooms. Now that's clear. There's no misunderstanding. So that now I can apply the last tool of directional leadership, which is accountability. I can then follow up later. I can check that area behind the toilet and I can see, is that person doing what I asked them to do, because I know I communicated it specifically and clearly. And when I hold them accountable, that means that I'm telling them, I'm evaluating them. Accountability is about evaluating and communicating that evaluation. So in this case, I go in, the bathroom, it's perfect behind the toilet. My accountability is to go to that person and say, you did great. You were excellent. That area that I talked to you about, it was perfect. Great job. That's accountability. Accountability is also when you go and check and it wasn't changed and you haul them back in there and say, okay, I talked to you about this at 10 a.m. Now it's 2 a.m. and the same area wasn't touched. This has to be cleaned. This must be cleaned. There's no question about it. The next time I check it, if it's not done, we're going to have a more disciplinary type conversation instead of a constructive or corrective conversation like we're having right now. So the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about, I'm just pulling up my notes, is from another thing that you'll be getting this week, and it talks about the communication tools as a summary with respect to interactions with individuals that work in our organization. And the three things that we're going to ask you to do in a lot of your conversations with folks are appreciation, correction, and direction. Appreciation, correction, direction. We need to consistently communicate how much we appreciate those that work with us. This looks like encouragement. This looks like thankfulness. It takes on a lot of different shapes. It must be genuine. If you're just making something up about why you appreciate, people are going to see right through you, and they should. You need to be able to find things that you appreciate about your team, and if you can't, either you have an issue with how you view your team members, or you need to get a better team. Consistent communication of appreciation is paramount in this organization. We are going to often communicate to you as leaders and tell you how much we appreciate you. We expect you to share that appreciation with those that work for you, because we don't get the face-to-face interaction with them that we get with you all. You are the mouthpiece of appreciation that comes from us. The way that you can reinforce our company ethos is by being as or more appreciating of your team as we are of you. Appreciation, make sure your folks know how much you mean to them. I should be able to come into a hotel and say, ask one of your team members, when is the last time that your boss said he appreciates you or he's grateful for you, and why? And they should be able to tell me within a couple of days. 2 days ago, he just told me that he really appreciates the way that I communicate with guests, and I'm an example that he would like to live up to. That's outstanding. That's a great way to appreciate your team. So appreciation, correction, and direction. Correction just looks like accountability. It looks like here's the correct way something should be done, and then communicating to your team members, your associates, how they're doing it well and how they're not doing it well, or where they have areas to improve. Correction is simply about holding them up to a standard of this is the correct way to do something. That's what correction is in our organization. We expect you to do it often. When it becomes the normal, when people are consistently hearing how they're doing things well and to improve, it doesn't create fear. It's not scary for them to have the boss come to them and tell them how they're doing something that they could improve. It feels normal. It feels good. It feels like a family. And we want people to have that sense of security to allow them to be truly themselves in an ever-improving way that embodies our company ethos. And the way they feel that way is because they know you're going to tell them if they're not doing something well. You won't let them get to the point of failure and losing their job without telling them over and over and over all the ways that they're failing or falling short. That's what we call correction. Correction is holding them to the standard that is correct. And lastly, direction. Sometimes folks just need to be told what to do. As a leader, we expect you guys to figure a lot of that out on your own. If you're having to call one of us about booking a block of rooms, we probably need to do some more training. These are things you should be able to do on your own. However, your team members, especially if they're new, they might need more direction. You as a leader, give it to them. Give them direction. Sometimes you can tell someone's floundering, they can't get traction, and you as a leader can give them traction by providing them with direction. Hey, why don't you do this? This really worked well for me when I was in your spot. Do this and let me know how it goes. It's like giving someone a push when they're stuck in the snow. You get them just enough momentum, direction, and suddenly they take off on their own. Be clear, be concise, and be encouraging in the way you give it. And often it will provide that motivation, that momentum that your team members need to be successful. Guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. or today watching this video. I'll be providing materials to you to go along with it. We've got a cool checklist coming for leaders this week, and a lot more content will be coming out now that I've got a little bit more stable environment to create it and get it to you guys. Again, I appreciate your patience. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for coming in tonight. We'll talk to you soon.